The human past is traditionally divided into three very unequal epochs. The Paleolithic or Old Stone Age, which ran from 2.5 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. The Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age, from 10,000 to 6,000 years ago, covering the period of transition from hunter-gathering lifestyles to the widespread emergence of agriculture. And the Neolithic or New Stone Age, which covers the closing but extremely productive 2,000 years or so of prehistory up until the Bronze Age. The Neolithic Revolution, as recognised by Vere Gordon Childe, involves the most monumentous events of human history, such as farming, irrigation, writing and government. This revolution remains one of the great mysteries of human development. Scientists and historians used to think that the Sumerians were the world's first advanced civilization, because this is the first time in human history we find writing. However, sites like Gobekli Tepe in Turkey raise the possibility of advanced civilizations existing in the Metholithic epoch.
Before the Younger Dryas period, the Earth was in an ice age, and then around 12,800 BC, the Earth cooled suddenly, and 1,000 years later, there's a sudden increase in temperature.
And scientists have growing evidence to support the comet impact theory. Once the coldness resided for good around 11,600 years ago, we see the huge site of Gobekli Tepe suddenly emerge. But this site is too advanced for hunter-gatherers to have developed. It is a huge site, and the evidence has shown it is astronomically aligned and is connected to other ancient monuments around the world. The interesting thing about the Neolithic Revolution is that it happened all over the Earth, among people who could have no idea that people in distant places were doing precisely the same things. Farming was independently invented at least 7 times. In China, the Middle East, New Guinea, the Andes, the Amazon Basin, Mexico and West Africa. Cities likewise emerged in 6 places: China, Egypt, India, Mesopotamia, Central America and the Andes. That all of these things happened all over without any shared contact is really improbable. To accept the idea that all these civilizations progressed independently of one another, and to reject the idea of contact or shared knowledge from a common source is a ludicrous position. The Conquistador Cortes landed in Mexico, and when he was there he found roads, canals, cities, palaces, schools, law, courts, markets, irrigation works, kings, priests, temples, all of which were invented quite similarly on other continents. Again, highly improbable that all these developments were made independent of one another. Mesoamericans were the greatest cultivators in history. Their most important horticultural invention was corn. Every stalk of corn is identical to every other. Not just similarly, but molecularly identical. And we have no idea how they did it. Nothing in the wild remotely resembles corn. Its nearest genetic relative is a grass called teosinte. But beyond the level of chromosomes, there is no discernible kinship. Corn grows into a hefty cob on a single stalk and is enclosed in a stiff protective husk, whereas teosinte is less than an inch long, huskless, and grows on a multiplicity of stems. Thanks to genetics, scientists know the corn originated in Mexico, but it is a mystery how it was created. Another mystery is the potato. Potatoes are from the nightshade family, which is extremely toxic, and in their wild state, they are full of poisonous glycolcolloids. To make eating potatoes safe, you need to reduce the glycolcolloid content to between 1/15 and 1/20th of its normal level. This raises a lot of questions. How did they do it? And while they were doing it, how did they know they were doing it? How did they know the poison content had been reduced by 20% or even 30%? And then how did they measure their progress? And the most important question, how did they know the whole exercise was even worth it in the first place? This is clearly an advanced knowledge, but where did it originate? In Mexico, Cortes arranged with the Aztec king Montezuma to accompany the Spaniards to various goldfields. In a letter to his king, Cortes wrote, "On the road they passed through 3 provinces, of very fine land, and many hamlets and cities and towns very populous, and containing buildings equal to any in Spain. They told me especially of a house and a fort, greater, stronger, and better built than the castle of Borgo, and the people were better dressed than any others we have seen, and, as it seemed to them, more intelligent. This letter to the Spanish king, along with their mysterious innovations with corn and potato, amongst other things, show how advanced the people of Mesoamerica really were. But another question arises. Why did the Mesoamericans happily greet them and escort the Spanish to their vast expanses of gold? The answer lies in an unusual place. Subscribe to be updated for my next video with the answer, and in the meantime, check out my other videos on ancient mysteries.